Hello dear viewers, support me by subscribing to my channel and share my video if you like it, and also make sure you comment your thoughts. Now let's start the video.
Preview.
Bella's POV. Bella, I can't believe I hurt you, Edward cried. Edward, look at me. It's nothing. I bruise easily. In a couple of hours it won't be a problem. It never should have been a problem to begin with, Edward said, while pacing between the window and the door of my bedroom. Edward, that was the best experience of my life. Don't ruin it worrying about what could have happened. I stood and walked into his path, making him stop or walk into me. He chose to stop. He knelt down in front of me. Let me see your leg. No. Yes. Well, that's one way to get my pants off, I grumbled. Edward just rolled his eyes and smirked. Bella, please. I was really nervous. I had never undressed in front of a guy before. Had he suggested this 5 minutes ago, I probably would have jumped at the chance, without further thought. However, just standing in the middle of my room, it felt odd. I knew that he wasn't going to give up until he could see for himself that I was fine. My fingers were trembling as I tried to undo the button on my jeans. Calm down, Bella. He snatched my hands away. Here, let me. Easily he flicked the button loose and lowered the zipper. I can take it from here, I stammered. I lowered my jeans just past my thighs, and glaring back at us was a deep purple and blue handprint. Bella, he breathed, and caressed my hip, placing his cold lips on each of the fingerprints that would be on my thigh for the next several days. I took a small step back and pulled my jeans back up, trying my best to not wince as the harsh fabric rubbed against the now sensitive skin. In preview, author's note, take your brain back to the start of Eclipse. There are a total of 3 chapters from Bella's time with Edward. This is the first of 3. I hope that you enjoy learning a little bit more about their time together. If I have done my job well in Jacob's path, you should know everything except for one thing. If you can't stand Edward and do not want to read about Bella's time with him, I understand. I know there are some people who do not care why she left him, as long as she did. There are others that feel the specific details are important. These chapter outtakes are for those people who want the details. Bella will eventually tell everything to Jacob. You do not have to read it, and the next chapter will be back to Jacob and Bella. I hope you enjoy taking this little journey with Bella. I admit it is weird seeing her with Edward. Have fun. Now let's start our story. Bella, I don't know why you're making Charlie carry notes to Billy like we're in 2nd grade. If I wanted to talk to you, I would answer that you made the choice here. Okay? You can't have it both ways. What part of Mortal Enemies is too complicated for you to... Look, I know I'm being a jerk, but there's just no way around. We can't be friends when you're spending all your time with a bunch of... It just makes it worse when I think about you too much, so don't write anymore. Yeah, I miss you too. A lot. Doesn't change anything. Sorry. Jacob. Seeing the dark crossed out mark through each word, except for the last sentence, was like a knife piercing me in the heart. It was like each line was a gash across my skin that would scab over just for me to pick and cause it to bleed all over again. Trust me, bleeding all over the place was not a good idea when your boyfriend is a vampire. Edward is my whole world, and I love him more than humanly possible. However, right now my best friend, Jacob, is hurting, and there isn't anything I can do about it. I have tried to talk to Edward about my need to see Jacob, but he is naturally worried about my safety. It seems a little ironic coming from a vampire that thirsts for my blood more than any other, to the point that it causes him pain. I completely understand that he doesn't know Jacob like I do. If he did, then I am sure that he would understand that I am perfectly safe with him. Unfortunately, Edward isn't the only thing keeping me from Jacob. I am grounded because Jacob totally ratted me out to my dad about the motorcycles that we would ride together, so I can't leave the house except for school. And Jacob, being the stubborn, pain-in-the-butt werewolf that he is, won't take my phone calls. So I was pretty much out of options. That is until my dad released me from being grounded this afternoon. I would be there right now, except for my teachers decided to ambush me with homework, and Edward was coming over soon, and so I really needed to get the homework completed. Homework is what I had been working on for the past hour, with books and papers sprawled out across my bed, when Jacob's response to my pleading note to him distracted me. The already memorized words were haunting me. I was lost in my own thoughts, until I heard the quick movement of papers and I felt a cold hand on my cheek. "Hello, love," said the most beautiful voice I have ever heard. It just sings to me. Hello. I answered as my cheeks blushed from the sweetness of his words. I grabbed his hand, pulling him closer to me, so that I could press my lips to his own. He sat next to me on the bed while our lips moved across each other's. It was a sweet kiss as his hard lips caressed my own. I sighed as he lifted his face from mine. He was always so careful, even in our kisses. What a wonderful welcome. He smiled, that cropped smile that melted my heart. It's what you do when you have the guy of your dreams standing before you, I answered boldly. He softly shook his head. What strange dreams you have. Any other human runs from danger, but you seem to embrace it at every opportunity. I thought his response a little strange until I saw Jacob's open note across the book laying in my lap. Quickly, I closed the book in a panic that I knew was useless. Clearly, Edward had already read the words that were really only meant for me to see. Jacob is not a danger, I tried to argue, knowing that this discussion was probably not going to be any more successful than any of our others. Sweetheart, I do not think you are the best judge of what is or is not dangerous. That so was not the point. I have until graduation to see him, and then he is going to hate me. I sulked. I'm sorry, I really am, but we can't go there with you, and I can't allow you to go there by yourself. Can't allow me. Edward, that really isn't your call to make. Whose call is it, Bella? My dad's. I already have one. Father, I don't need another one. Bella, believe me, I don't want to be your father, he said as he brought his lips down to mine once again, pulling me into his lap, causing the book to tumble to the floor. Any other time that probably would have irritated me, but I just loved kissing him too much to care. I threaded my hands through his hair, bringing his mouth even closer to my own, getting lightheaded from lack of oxygen. Calmly, he leans his head back, disconnecting our lips from one another, wrapping his cold arms tightly around me as my chest heaved, trying to refill with air. If you think that proves your point, you are sadly mistaken, I panted. Bella, do you really think your dad would be so willing to let you go if he knew Jacob was a werewolf? Do you think he would let me be sitting here in your lap if he knew you were a vampire? Fair enough, he relented. We settled into a calm silence. I slipped off his lap and picked up the book that had fallen on the floor, as well as the other papers and books that had once been on my bed, that Edward had moved to the desk. I organized the papers that were completed and the homework that was yet to be started, trying to do anything. But think of Jacob. My brain was not cooperating with me, and no matter how hard I tried, there was a consistent thought, like a leaky faucet drip, drip, drip. Jacob, Jacob. After I had straightened the already organized desk 3 times, Edward walked over and took my hand, leading me back to the bed to sit down. What has you so troubled? He asked. Edward the first. Need to see him. No. Are you ever going to change your mind? No.
And change me?
What? He asked, confused. If I can't go and fix things, then I might as well be changed. Is Jacob a motivating factor in you staying human? Not really, but I know it is going to hurt him the most, because he will know the truth of why I can't be home for Christmas or birthdays. You know the condition for me to change you myself. Marry me. Edward, I don't need a piece of paper to tell me that we will never be apart. It is not about the paper, silly girl, but we will be going away to college. Most would assume living together there. Don't you think your dad would want a ring on your finger? I sighed. You're probably right. Come on, Bella, think of how we could have our families be together and declare our love for the whole world to see. He had such a happy gleam in his eyes that if it were possible, tears of joy would have grazed down his cheeks. I thought it through my mind and I could see Charlie walking me down the aisle scowling at Edward and Renee, getting ready to faint from the stress of this disastrous decision, and tried to stop myself before I got to a repeat of Jacob's crumbled, pain-stricken face from the woods outside my house. But the images came, and I felt my face grimace a little more with each disturbing thought. For the next several days, Edward and I danced around these same issues of me wanting to see Jacob and Edward, feeling it wasn't safe, and me wanting to become a vampire and Edward wanting to get married first. It was getting to the point where we either said almost nothing at all to each other, or all we did was fight about these 2 revolving issues. I'm so sorry, Bella. I don't want us to ever spend another night apart, I pleaded. Neither do I. It seems that we went through school glued to each other's hips, or something close to it. We held hands or had our arms around each other as much as possible, clearly trying to make up for lost time. However, there was one thing that we have not done since our fight. and that was kiss, and by the end of school, my lips were aching to be on his. Edward drove my wheezing truck to my house faster than he ever had before, leaped from his seat, and carried me inside. Human speed just wasn't going to cut it today. In an instant we were in my room, and our mouths finally received the contact that they had been begging for. We kissed, and kissed, and kissed, and kissed. I could hardly breathe, and often thought I was going to completely pass out. Edward must have heard the change in my heart from lack of oxygen, and would bring his mouth to my neck and shoulder, giving me a moment to breathe, and then back to my lips once again. My hands were all throughout his hair, and up and down his back, trying to get him to press his body further into mine. I just couldn't get enough, and Edward had never allowed me to get this far before. As we continued to kiss, Edward held his body weight with one hand, and the other ran up and down my arm, and he grabbed onto my thigh, pulling me even closer to his body, and I could feel his fingers tightly, knowing they would leave bruises behind. Suddenly Edward also realized what he was doing and pushed himself from the bed, landing crouched on the floor, his dark black eyes smoldering at me. I lifted myself to step towards him. "No, don't come any closer." He backed several steps away. "I need a moment." He walked over to the window, flinging it fully open, and breathed in the fresh air. When he looked back, his eyes had returned to the rich topaz that I knew and loved. "Are you okay?" I asked. "But you didn't." I stood to walk towards him and winced as I took a step closer. It seemed that my thigh was going to be more bruised than I thought. "Bella, I can't believe I hurt you." "Edward, look at me. It's nothing. I bruise easily. In a couple of hours it won't be a problem." "It never should have been a problem to begin with," Edward said, while pacing between the window and the door of my bedroom. "Edward, that was the best experience of my life. Don't ruin it worrying about what could have happened." I stood and walked into his path, making him stop or walk into me. He chose to stop. He knelt down in front of me. "Let me see your leg." "No." "Yes." "Well, that's one way to get my pants off," I grumbled. Edward just rolled his eyes and smirked. "Bella, please." I was really nervous. I had never undressed in front of a guy before. Had he suggested this 5 minutes ago, I probably would have jumped at the chance without further thought. However, just standing in the middle of my room, it felt odd. I knew that he wasn't going to give up until he could see for himself that I was fine. My fingers were trembling as I tried to undo the button on my jeans. "Calm down, Bella." He snatched my hands away. "Here, let me." Easily, he flicked the button loose and lowered the zipper. "I can take it from here," I stammered. I lowered my jeans just past my thighs, and glaring back at us was a deep purple and blue handprint. "Bella," he breathed, and caressed my hip, placing his cold lips on each of the fingerprints that would be on my thigh for the next several days. I took a small step back and pulled my jeans back up, trying my best to not wince as the harsh fabric rubbed against the now sensitive skin. Once they were back in place, Edward once again reached out, and I willing stepped forward, and he wrapped his arms around my waist, and I threaded my hands through his hair. I knew that Edward would beat himself up for this, and I didn't want this to undo all the progress that we had made with the kissing. It seriously was the best I had ever had. "Edward, this seriously is not a big deal. My leg is fine. In a couple of days it will be like nothing ever happened." Oh, how I wish those words had been true. Edward was scared to touch me, and for the next several days all we did was hold hands, but all he would kiss was my forehead or hair. It wasn't until, out of a moment of pure frustration, that I pulled my pants down once again to show him that the mark was completely gone, that he seemed to actually believe that I was okay. Once again we were back to the blissful days of close embraces and sweet kisses. I tucked away the topic of Jacob, or my transformation, for a time when we were in a more secure place. It wasn't until I heard Charlie on the phone, with I assume Billy trying to get them to come over for a game and pizza, that I fully realized how bad things were. Billy was free to come, but Jacob refused to come over, and while Charlie wanted to spend time with his friend, it was clear that the real purpose was to get Jacob and I to spend some time together. I hadn't realized how much I really wanted to see Jacob until I saw the opportunity slip away. I knew that I would need to bring up the subject with Edward, and the fact that I needed to do that bothered me. I knew deep inside that I shouldn't need Edward's permission to go see my best friend. I was going to see Jacob. I wasn't asking. I was simply informing. That night, when Edward crawled inside my bedroom window, I knew that the time had come for us to have this conversation. "Edward, I'm going to go see Jacob tomorrow." "No, love, you're not." You need to let me make my own decisions, instead of what you think is best for me. I will let you make any decision you want, except for that one. That is not true. You make decisions for me all the time. No, I don't, Edward argued. You thrust all these college applications in my face when I have already been accepted to University of Alaska Southeast. That is plenty far as an alibi for next year. That brings me to my next point. I want to become like you and you keep insisting that I remain human. At some point I will have to be changed. You can't stay with me when I look like your mother or grandmother. That is just gross. Not to mention the Volturi will be coming to check up on my promise to become a vampire, which leads me to the next point. I wouldn't even be in this mess with them if you hadn't left me to begin with. I saw him flinch at my words. I don't say that to be mean, but Edward, you never even talked to me before making the decision that my life would be better off without you in it. Don't you think I should have had a say in all of these decisions? Yes, and I will never forgive myself for leaving you. Edward, it isn't about you leaving. Yes, that was a horrible time, but we made it past that. What I don't know is, if I can make it through the fact you do not trust me. I do trust you. No, you don't. You think you know what is best for me and you don't. I'm sorry. What can I do? You can stop it. Let's talk about things and discuss it, like a mature couple. No more hiding things from me, and making the decision for me. Okay, I can do that. Edward, I don't think I can spend the rest of my life or existence with someone who doesn't trust me. Are you saying that this is a deal breaker? That you would leave me over this? I gasped in response. I had never even thought of breaking up with Edward, or that he would somehow not be a part of my life. However, the moment the questions left his lips, I knew the truth behind them. I wanted to keep it buried deep inside, and never express it, but I knew that I needed to give him the same truth that I wanted from him in return. Yes, we didn't say anything more the rest of the evening. I wasn't able to go see Jacob, but it wasn't any fault of Edward's. Teachers were being cruel with the amount of homework that they assigned. I was so stressed that I actually felt relieved when Alice invited me over to her house for the weekend. I knew that she was going to want to do a complete makeover with my hair, nails, and clothes. And while I dreaded the process, I had a new plan for my weekend. Seduction. I am thankful for you, lips, I told Bella as I kissed them and kissed them and kissed them some more. I am thankful for your smile and how it just shines for me. Bella responded between kisses. I am thankful for your beautiful chocolate eyes. I gave small butterfly kisses across her cheek to her temple. I am thankful for your hands and how amazing they feel. Oh yeah, I smirked. I trailed my hands down her shoulders and interlaced my fingers with hers, and then brought her arms over her head and held her wrists with one of mine. Is there anywhere in particular you like my hands to touch? I asked, raising my eyebrows suggestively. We were spending a fantastic Friday after Thanksgiving watching movies in my room, while our dads were in the living room watching more sports than should be humanly possible. Despite being the one who put the DVD in the player, I couldn't tell you what we were watching. Bella smiled and giggled as I ghosted my hand down her body, lightly touching, but not really landing on anything. That wasn't exactly what I had in mind, Bella complained. I clutched tightly to her calf and began to massage up her leg, stopping to tickle behind her knee before resting on her thigh. Bella has such sexy legs that I could just massage and touch them for days on end. That is really how I felt about every part of her body. My hand decided it wanted some of her silky skin, and it started on the last button of her flannel shirt and began to slip the buttons through the holes, exposing her flat stomach. I remember the first time I ever undid one of her buttons. My hands were trembling so badly that I wasn't sure it was going to make it through the stupid hole, but I was determined. It was several weeks ago, and we were making out on the couch in Bella's living room, when I decided that I wanted to see what I was feeling under her shirt. My heart was racing, and so was hers, as each of the buttons slipped through the holes. Her delicate skin was so beautiful, her lavender bra took my breath away, and I'm sure I just stared, completely mesmerized. It had only been a moment and I heard Charlie's car pull up, so we quickly buttoned her back up and pretended to know what was on the TV. Despite our dads being here, I knew that both of them would rather die a slow, painful death than open the door to whatever we might be doing. Her jeans were low on her waist, and I could feel her hips and the curve of her waist. Bella made sure that my mouth stayed connected to hers, until I forgot that I was holding her arms captive above her head, and sunk my hand into her soft hair. My other hand continued to fight with her buttons, until it reached success at the top, and I pushed the material down one arm and then the other. Oh, Bells, I could never get tired of seeing you. She had a dark navy bra on that contrasted with her pale skin beautifully. I wouldn't want you to, Bella panted. I wanted to feel her against me, so I shrugged out of my shirt and tossed it on the floor. Feeling her smooth skin pressed into mine was absolutely amazing. My chest was aching to be able to feel her completely topless. I have felt them at night when she had taken her bras off for sleeping, but I haven't actually seen them. As we kissed, I ran my hands over her body around to her waist and back, at times slipping my fingers under her straps. "Take it off," Bella whispered. "I want to," I breathed. "I just don't know if I'll be able to stop Bells." As much as we both really wanted to take things further, in the middle of the afternoon with both our dads home was really not the right time. "You will? I trust you." "RQ," I groaned. "Sometimes I don't know what to do with you." I couldn't believe that she thought I would be able to be the responsible one here. "Let me help you figure it out." She reached behind herself, unhooking her clasps. I could feel my already accelerated heartbeat even faster as the small material fell from her body. She was more beautiful than I could have imagined, and I just let my eyes drink in every curve and valley. Slowly, I placed both my hands over her, and Bella closed her eyes and smiled. "Bella, you just keep getting more and more amazing." Bella blushed. "Thank you." She pushed me to my back and laid her chest over mine. Wow! Her chest was so smooth and soft, and I could completely feel her against me. I ran my hands across her back and could feel her curves as I brought my hands to the side of her body. We continued to kiss and explore for quite a while until I ended on top of her, as I kissed down her neck between her breasts before sampling one and then the other. My lips trailed down her perfect breast, and my tongue flicked over her perky nipple. My heart was racing, and everything was so new and completely amazing. I wanted to continue forever. I traced around her nipple with my tongue before encasing around it with my lips. I could hear Bella moan and feel her hips rock up against me, so I figured I must be doing something right. My lips caressed her skin, taking more and more of her into my mouth. My hand found her other breast and began to palm and caress. Even though I had felt her before, with the combination of my mouth, it was like a brand new experience. I continued to move my lips back and forth, licking and sucking as I pinched her other nipple between my fingers. "Oh, Jake, don't stop." My tongue continued to stroke over her, going from one side to the other, licking the underside of her breast before taking her back in my mouth. I hadn't realized that I had been thrusting against her pelvis in the same rocking motion that she moved against me, until she started to convulse and shake. I looked up at her face, and she was more flushed than I had ever seen her. "Did you just—" "Yeah," Bella panted. "Wow," I said, amazed. "Tell me about it. That was incredible." I pulled her close and wrapped my arms around her, and she could feel me pressed into her stomach. I was harder than I had ever been before. She rolled me over to my back and began to kiss me as she straddled me. She started to slowly rock her hips against me. As the intensity rose, she broke our kiss and sat up straighter, and I could see her naked chest bounce from her thrusting. "Oh, Bells." I placed my hands over each of her breasts, massaging them, and rubbed my thumbs across her nipples. "Come on, Jake." She brought her nails across my chest, and it felt so good that I moaned as I felt myself release. It was seriously the best Thanksgiving of my life. I wanted to curse school when it started again. My classes in Port Angeles were coming to a close for this semester, and so I had constant studying. There weren't any more signs of Victoria, however. Her last visit seemed to trigger the phasing for Cullen and Brady, who both phased a week after Thanksgiving. So eventually they would be helpful with patrols, but they were both young and Sam refused to allow them to miss school. He started them out slowly with just a few hours on the weekends. "Hey, Jake," Bella said. I looked up from my books to give her some attention. "Yeah." I was sitting on the couch and she was on the opposite end with her legs bent with a book resting in her lap. "I want to quit at Newton's." I remembered Edward mentioning how bored she was, so it didn't come as a surprise. "What do you want to do?" Bella put the bookmarker in place and set her book to her side. "I don't know. Go to college, or maybe just find a different job that makes me use my brain. I just know I am not meant to work as a cashier. It wouldn't be so bad if I was at least surrounded by things I cared about or found interesting." However, I can only organize and reorganize the same crap over and over again. I understand. Do you have anything specific in mind? Sort of. I was talking to Leah the last time we all got together, and she is just as bored as I am. So I thought that if we went to the same place we could carpool together. It could even be the community college in Port Angeles, and we could all commute together. That would be nice. I could get some of my basics taken care of that would transfer to another college. It would be cheaper than getting them at a major university. Sounds great to me. I started to go back to my homework, but then started thinking about our conversation just now. Bells, did you feel like you needed to ask my permission? Not permission, but I thought we should talk about things like this together. With me being in school, it would change things with us. I can see that. What about Victoria? I don't want Victoria to rule my life and not do things because of her, but I also don't want to be stupid. Well, that is good. Whatever classes I can't get with Leah, I may have Alice or Edward enroll in so that someone will be with me. Seems like you have got it pretty figured out. Yeah, I have been thinking about it for a while now. Bella stretched her legs out next to my thighs and I rested my arm across her calves. Edward mentioned to me that you were bored. I wish that you had told me. There wasn't a point in mentioning it, Jake, because I didn't have a better solution. She scooted closer on the couch and interlaced our fingers together. I couldn't exactly start classes in the middle of a semester, but I knew I wouldn't be able to handle going through another semester at Newton's. Thank you. I leaned over, giving her a quick kiss. What for? Bella asked, confused. For putting up with something you didn't like. For me. Anytime. Smiled and gave me another kiss. Finals went very well. I have always hated history, and now was no exception. As long as I passed the class, I didn't really care what the grade was. Dad and I met with the school counselor to make sure everything was still set for me to graduate early, and things were looking good. I knew that I had a lot to feel blessed about, and I thought about them as I sat through the Christmas Eve service with Bella, Charlie, and my dad. Going to church was something that had been important to my mom, and I could remember her dragging our family with her on Sunday mornings. Dad never felt up for making us continue after she died, but we still went on Christmas Eve. It always made me think of her, miss my sisters, and I wished that Rachel would at least come home for Christmas, but she wasn't going to make it. We were at the little church that Angela's dad was the minister at, so after the service, Bella went and spoke with her while Dad and I lit a candle for Mom. I wasn't much of a singer, but still enjoyed the traditional carols that just made it feel like Christmas. After the service, we all went to Charlie and Bella's for the night. Charlie bought a new couch several weeks ago that pulled out for a bed. So Dad slept there, Charlie stayed in his room, and I stayed with Bella. Bella and I curled our bodies together and slept all night, wrapped in each other's arms. My mind was at peace with not having to worry about school or homework for the next several days. I woke up early Christmas morning and Bella was asleep next to me. She was sleeping in my t-shirt, despite it being huge on her. It was bunched up at her waist, showing her legs, tiny shorts and stomach. I love the comfort that Bella and I have around each other, and I knew that even if she were awake, she wouldn't care that I could see her. I loved touching her soft skin and ran my hand over her thigh and hips, feeling every curve, as I slipped the t-shirt over her head. "Oh, Jake," she sighed sleepily. I smiled as I kissed down her neck, both breasts and her soft flesh on her stomach. I dipped my tongue into her belly button and swirled it around, which caused Bella to giggle and squirm. She moved so that she was over me and kissed up my chest, landing on my lips. We kissed, as her hands roamed over my chest and shoulders, pulling herself tightly to me, rocking her hips against me, as my fingers dipped into the back of her panties, cupping her smooth skin. I pulled her into me and we moved against each other. "Merry Christmas, Bells," I said between kisses. She smiled. "Merry Christmas. I love waking up with you." "Good, I love it too," I answered with a huge grin on my face. I could hear Charlie get out of bed and go downstairs to start the coffee for himself and Dad. Bella went to the kitchen to start breakfast, and I went to the bathroom for a quick shower before going downstairs and carrying Dad upstairs to Basta. He could freshen up to start the day. Bella made eggs, pancakes, and bacon for breakfast, and we all sat around the table as we chatted comfortably with each other. The following weekend, Bella and I decorated the tree together. I thought she would never consider it to be straight, as she had me move it a little to the left and then the right, back and forth, until I came out from under the tree looking like a porcupine. We strung strand after strand of multicolored mini lights throughout each of the branches. It was a good thing that Bella asked me to bring some of my family's decorations, because Charlie's assortment was pretty pathetic. We wrapped gold garland around the tree and had an assortment of solid blue, green, red, and silver balls to hang from the branches, along with lots of homemade ornaments from my family. Bella smiled at a toothy picture of me when I was 5 in a drawing that was so horrible I couldn't even tell what it was supposed to be. I tried to throw it away, but Bella wouldn't let me. It was so cute watching Bella be up on her toes, reaching as high as she could, yet still not quite able to put the star on top of the tree until I lifted her up. My first present was from Dad. It was a set of 4 wood carving knives. Each knife would form a different texture into the wood and give the design specific features. There was a soft case with a pocket for each knife that would roll for easy transportation. Wow, thanks, Dad. I smiled at him and I could see the crinkles around his eyes as he smiled back. From Charlie, I opened a box that had about 15 shirts, and I started laughing. All right, I get the hint. I can wear a shirt. I pulled one out and actually put one on. Charlie blushed a little, but what surprised me the most was that Bella about fell over laughing. What is so funny? Charlie asked. Just wait, Bella said, laughing to herself. I opened my gift from Bella, and it was 12 pairs of shorts, and we all started laughing. See, Charlie, she likes me half naked, I said to him. Bella blushed and tried to hide it, which just made us all laugh. Some more. Dad got Charlie a new case for his fishing lures, and then laughed when Charlie got him the exact same thing. For Dad and Charlie, Bella and I went together and got them a couple tickets for the week of spring training for the Mariners. They were both excited and Bella and I just smiled. We were going to be really excited for them to be gone for a week. For Bella, Charlie got her a prepaid card to download more music to her iPod. Music and audiobooks have been the only things that has kept her sane while she works. However, she gave her notice at Newton's, but agreed to work until January to get them through the holiday season. My dad gave her some hair clips, 2 matching combs with silver native etching patterns, and 2 small wolves in the center. Bella seemed to really like both gifts, and got up and gave Charlie and then my dad a hug before coming and sitting back down with me on the couch. For myself, I got her a sterling silver ring with a rose on top. Thank you, Jake. This is beautiful. You are welcome, I said as I took the ring out of its box and slipped it on her finger. It fit perfectly on her left middle finger, which was fine with me. I was completely guessing on her size, so as long as it fit a finger, I didn't care which one. Bella smiled at me and then wrapped her arms around my neck. We hugged tightly and quickly kissed. After we picked up the paper and boxes from the presents, our dad started watching sports, and I helped Bella to prepare some things for the big Christmas lunch. The pack was coming here and we prepared a large turkey, stuffing, sweet potatoes, and green bean casserole. Sue was preparing a large ham along with rolls, mashed potatoes and gravy, and Emily was bringing several pies for dessert. We set up several extra card tables to give everyone a place to sit and eat. It was a very loud and full house with everyone together, and at times Charlie looked a little overwhelmed, but as I looked around I couldn't help but smile at seeing everyone in the same place. Once we finished eating, we put the tables away and pilled into the living room for the wolf pack exchange. It was weird that 1 year ago Bella was deep in her zombie stage, and Charlie stayed home with her, and it was just me, Dad, Embry, and Quill. This year I wasn't sure if we were all going to fit with Charlie, Sue, and Dad, who watched and didn't participate in the gift exchange, plus the 10 wolves and Emily, Kim, Bella, and Jackie. We placed our presents under the tree, and then passed out numbers for each of us to draw. After the first present was opened, then you had the choice to steal a present or open a new one. Jared went first and opened a tiny black male swimsuit. He smiled at Kim, and she raised her eyebrows, suggestively. Paul went next and stole the swimsuit, saying that Jared already got a girl. Kim scowled and surprised us all when she wondered out loud how many different girls Paul would be enticing. Paul just winked at her and smirked. Jared then ripped apart a box with Emily's banana bread and grinned at Paul because the bread was one of his favorite things that Emily would make. Bella went next and opened up a box of condoms. She lifted out a strip and then dropped it and gasped. Everyone started laughing as her jaw dropped to the floor, and I swear I have never seen her face redder before. She buried it in my chest. I heard Charlie groan and saw that he was shaking his head. Sue put her hand over his and I saw her mouth sorry. Sam was next and unwrapped the Furminator, which was a deferring brush for dogs. Sam rolled his eyes but then said that I should have gotten it. because I was the furry beast among them. He honestly wasn't far off. My hair was now to my shoulders, and at times I looked a little strange in my wolf form. I like his hair, Bella beamed and ran her hands through it. I know you do. I smiled at her, and the whole room groaned before I was able to kiss her. Despite how much Bella loved my hair, it probably couldn't get much longer, and I would have to talk to her about it, eventually. It was my turn to go next, so I tore the paper, and a tiny black bikini fell in my lap. I looked at Bella and she was blushing again. Embry walked around looking at the options, and it is clear he thought about stealing the bikini. Don't you dare, Embry. I'll never fit into that tiny thing, Jackie warned. I kind of think that is the point, Leah whispered to Jackie and laughed. Okay, fine, Embry conceded. He unwrapped a box of Bella's sugar cookies. There were snowmen, snowflakes, and Santas all covered in rich icing. Brady quickly stole the cookies, so Embry opened another box of chocolate chip cookies. Emily opened a CD of Christmas music. Jackie stole the banana bread from Jared, saying how much she loved bread, and so Jared unwrapped a pocket knife. Leah opened a box of condoms and rolls her eyes. I thought we might have dodged a bullet from Leah until Seth stole them from her. What the hell? Leah yells at her brother. What? It would just be wrong to steal them from Bella, and we all know you don't need them. Seth justified. Well, neither do you, Leah countered. Seth just smirked at his sister and sat back down. The pack was shocked, and that was extremely rare. Is it possible that Seth is hiding something that we don't know? Or was he just a young kid who thought he needed condoms? Once again I heard a groan from the kitchen, and this time it was Sue. Charlie put his arm across her shoulders, and I heard Dad mumble "Welcome to my world," which made Charlie chuckle, and he nodded his head in agreement with Dad. Leah, in a bad mood, came over and took the bikini from me. Hey, what did I do? I complained. I don't want to see this on Bella. I just rolled my eyes and picked another box. It had a CD of various music. Kim then stole it from me, saying she was too chicken to open something. I didn't mind, so I just went and stole the bikini back from Leah. Well, I do want to see it on her. I stuck my tongue out at Leah. Fine. She ripped apart a present to reveal a lighter. Awesome. Leah was really excited. Why is Leah so excited? Jackie asked. She doesn't smoke, does she? Nah, Leah just likes to burn things. She's kind of a tomboy, Embry explained. Is that why she hangs out with you guys all the time? Jackie asked. Pretty much. It was a hard time for her when Harry died. So we have all been pretty close since then. I added, yeah, it sucks to lose a parent. Jackie acknowledged as Embry pulled her close and kissed her. Brady opened a frisbee, which Quill stole. So then Brady unwrapped a large bone, which we all laugh at. I wish I had gotten the bone. Jackie whispered. Why? Bella asked her. Oh, I didn't tell you. My mom got me a puppy for Christmas. He is a cute little Siberian husky, gray with black spots. He is the sweetest little guy. He sounds perfect. I'm glad you've got a dog to look out for you. I winked over at Embry and could hear the laughter he tried to conceal. The room erupted in laughter, which brought my attention back. Apparently Cullen had stolen the frisbee from Quill, and then Quill took the bone, which is what everyone started laughing at. Oh, come on. You all know you wanted this. Quill lifted the bone up in the air. Only you, buddy. Only you. Author's note, I struggle sometimes with explaining things, so I am including a picture of Bella's ring that she got from Jacob. Simple, yet pretty. School started, and so once again my time with Bella was limited. However, I was able to see her more on the days that I had classes in Port Angels. Bella was so much happier now that she was not at Newton's, even though she really didn't actually have a major or anything. Leah was interested in medicine like her mother, and I admit that it would be nice to have a doctor that knew our secret. Bella had one class that both Alice and Edward enrolled with her, and it happened to be the same evening that I was also in Port Angels. So to have Leah, myself, Bella, Alice, and Edward all in the same space was interesting, to put it mildly. Edward drove, Leah sat in the passenger side, and Alice, Bella, and I sat in the back, and all the windows were down to keep the smell tolerable, and I would just wrap my arms around Bella to keep her warm. Come on, Bella, you need to wake up, I heard Alice say to her as she lightly shook Bella's shoulder. We had actually both fallen asleep, and I opened my eyes to see Bella's front porch. Most of the nights that we got back from our night classes, I stayed at Bella's house. Has Leah already run home? I asked, as I got out of the car. No, she is going to sleep on the pull-out couch, Edward answered. She has a project that she needs to work on, and her and Bella will be leaving early tomorrow for their classes. Oh, okay, I yawned huge and then followed Bella into the house as Alice and Edward went back to their own. On nights where Leah and I were both here, it was determined that no additional protection was needed. Charlie was watching TV from his recliner when we walked in, while we chatted with him as Leah got the sheets for her couch. Bella helped her make the bed, and I warmed some more food for myself and Leah. After we finished eating, we all went to bed. Being so busy helped as a distraction, so that it wasn't too difficult that Bella and I haven't taken our relationship to the next stage, but some nights were harder than others. As we crawled into bed together that night, Bella curled her body around mine and I wrapped my arms around her. Are you looking forward to this weekend? Bella asked. I shrugged. I don't know. It's your birthday, silly, or does it not count with the whole non-aging thing? No, it counts. It is sort of nice, but weird. Why is that? Most of the time, I don't feel like I'm about to turn 17. How do you feel? I shrugged. Older, I guess. I don't know if it is the wolf gene, rapid aging thing, or what. Well, I'm sure that you maturing wasn't just your physical body. Your brain probably aged as well. Bella reasoned. Yeah, it is like I have been asleep for 7 years, and my body and mind are older, but I have the same life experience that I had before I went to sleep. I can see how that would be weird. Are your brothers doing anything for you? Nothing huge. I think we are expecting snow, so we will probably do some stuff outside. I hope you'll come. I am really looking forward to it. It will be my first weekend to not be a Newton's. I would probably throw a party even if it weren't your birthday. Wow, way to make me feel special. They're bells? I teased. She smacked her hand on my chest, then reached up and kissed me. You know what I mean? Yeah, I do. I ran my hand through her hair as Bella rested her head back down next to my own. Is there anything in particular you want for your birthday? Is there something you want to give me? I ran my hand across her body and kissed her until we were both panting. Not that. I laughed. Nothing else comes to mind, but if I think of something, I'll be sure to let you know. You do that. Bella took a deep breath and snuggled in closer as we both fell asleep. The weekend looked to be fantastic with several inches of snow covering the ground. Charlie took us both out to an early dinner Friday after I got out of school, and then Bella was staying the rest of the weekend in La Bush. So I drove our rabbit to my house and parked it in the garage, next to her broken truck. It was actually a really good thing that Bella had the rabbit most of the time, because it was a tight fit for the garage to hold both vehicles. However, I loved having the rabbit back in its spot, and wouldn't change it for anything. I woke up late Saturday morning to someone pounding on my bedroom door before they turned the handle and opened it. Do you have clothes on? Quill asked, standing in my room with his eyes closed. You know, I should totally punch you in the nose right now. I laughed as Quill immediately put his hands over his face in protection. Oh, you didn't answer the question. Quill complained. Yes, Bella answered shyly, as she made sure that my t-shirt was covering most of her legs. As much clothes on as I normally do, which meant I only had shorts on. Why? I asked. Great. Quill opened his eyes. Jared and I were supposed to just come in and kidnap you, but when your dad said that Bella was here, I drew the short end of the stick and was nominated to come get you. Where are you taking him? Bella asked. Don't worry, Bella. We will make sure he comes back in one piece. Quill answered as he smiled at her. All right, I'm getting up. I detached myself from Bella and got out of bed. Oh, and you might want actual clothes. We'll be outside. I grabbed my jeans, boots, t-shirt and jacket and went to the bathroom to freshen up for the day. When I came out, I heard Jared telling Bella that Emily, Kim, and Jackie would be here in a little bit to watch girly movies and make lunch for us. I had no idea what these crazy guys had planned for me, and while I loved spending as much time with Bella as possible, I really missed just being with my pack family. I had a few bowls of cereal for breakfast and then I was on my way. I followed Jared and Quill into the woods, and we jogged for about a mile before I suddenly got pelted in the head with a snowball. I looked around confused, but I didn't see anyone. Instantly he darted into the trees, as I was pelted with about 20 snowballs from all directions. The balls had been formed so tightly and thrown so hard that it was almost like being hit with paintball bullets. I dropped to the ground, grabbing the snowballs to throw back, and they instantly started melting in my hands. Now I understood what the gloves were for, not to protect me from the snow, but the snow from me. I slipped the gloves on and I saw Embry crouched behind a tree, and so I grabbed 3 snowballs and pelted him in the shoulder. For the next 20 minutes it was a complete free-for-all with snowballs flying at anyone and everyone. It was fantastic. "Alright everyone, gather around," Sam called. We all came out from behind our trees and for a moment dropped our ammo of snowballs. "Paul, Jared, Seth and Brady, you all are with me, against Jake, Embry, Quill, Leah and Cullen." "Okay, what's the competition?" I asked. "So we just search for the flag?" Paul asked, clearly not very impressed with the challenge. "If you choose, the flag is worth 25 points. However, you can also get points from hitting each other with snowballs." He passed out silver washers, like you use with a screw, and a nut to hold something in place, and then handed me a small bucket that was filled with washers. "If you get hit with a snowball, you have to give all the washers you have on you, and you have to have a washer to throw your snowball. We have to stay at least 100 yards away from each other's bucket, so put it in an easy-to-get-to area. You will be coming back to it often." "Sounds great," I beamed. "How do we know when the game is over?" Brady asked. Both teams divided up and we started to talk strategy of what we wanted to do. Colin wanted to hide our flag and would stand guard over it, so he took off to go do that. Leah and Quill wanted to continue to dominate with snowballs, so they were going to try and collect as many washers as possible, while Embry and I searched for the flag. It was a few minutes later that we heard Sam's howl to start off the game. Embry and I raced as fast as we could to the other side, assuming that they would try and hit us with snowballs. We were right. Snow was flying all around us as we darted and swerved through the trees without being hit. Paul's got extremely close and I had to front flip in the air to keep from being hit. "Show off!" Paul yelled at me, right as Leah got him with a snowball, and I could hear her laughing as I continued to run with Embry by my side. I hadn't patrolled with Embry in a while, so we chatted together as we searched for the flag. Him and Jackie were doing great, and taking things slow. Embry was working at the resort, taking on most of the responsibilities that Jackie's stepdad was doing, which involved mostly maintenance for the facilities. About the only time they weren't together was if Embry was patrolling or at night. Whenever I saw them together, it was clear that they were both happy, and if they weren't already in love, they probably would be soon. Suddenly Embry stopped and nodded his head towards a tight group of trees. "Jared," he whispered softly. It made sense that Jared would be the one guarding the flag, and so we both crouched down and gathered 3 snowballs each for ammunition. "You go right, I'll come a step behind on the left," I whispered. "Okay." We both started running opposite directions. I threw a snowball at Jared to draw his attention towards me, while Embry came around. Jared had a large stack of snowballs and tried to go back and forth quickly, throwing them at both of us. He had just let one go towards Embry when I aimed and hit Jared in the back of the head. "Damn, Jake, you've got quite an arm." Jared rubbed his head. "Sorry about that. You were pretty impressive yourself." He handed me his washer and then we heard Brady's howl. "Does that mean he got our flag?" Embry asked. "Probably. Let's go find out," Jared said, excited over most likely winning. "Don't you need to get your flag before you go?" I asked. "Nope," Jared answered. "It isn't really here. I was a decoy." "Smart," Embry said, impressed. We made it back and everyone was gathered around where we had started. Leah had the biggest grin on her face I have ever seen. "What's up?" I asked her. "You'll see," she smirked. Then both Sam and Seth came out, and I didn't think they could have more snow on them if they had rolled in it. "Did you do that to them?" I asked Leah. "Hell yes," she smiled and laughed. I brought my hand up for a high five. "Only you, Leah, only you." She smacked her hand against mine. "Don't you forget it." Between Leah and Quill, we had slaughtered them in washer counts. However, they did find our flag, so it turned out Sam's team had 39 and my team had 52 points. We were all so excited with our victory that I tackled Leah and Cullen, and Quill and Embry jumped on me, forming a massive dog pile in the snow. I couldn't ask for a better time with my pack family, and we were all starving, so we went back to my house. The girls had made BBQ pulled pork. The meat was in the crock pot, so we grabbed the buns and made sandwiches for ourselves, along with a cheesy potato soup. We went into the living room to join the girls. They had pillows, blankets, and tears streaming down their faces. "Do I even want to know?" I whispered to Bella. "You'll just laugh," she sniffled. "What movie were you watching?" The credits were rolling, so I had no idea. "Where the red fern grows." "Oh, Bells, you're such a softie," I teased, as I put one arm around her. Bella nodded her head and rested it against my shoulder. "So what did you guys do?" Jackie asked. While we ate lunch, we all told about our snowball fight and the game. It was great to hear everyone's stories of what happened during the game. After we finished eating, we all gathered in the living room and watched Braveheart. I pulled Bella into my lap and spent the movie with my arms wrapped around her and kissing her just whenever I felt like it. We had spent most of the night making out, so halfway through the movie, Bella fell asleep with her head resting against my chest. Despite it being one of my favorite movies, with a full stomach and a sleeping Bella in my arms, I ended up falling asleep as well. I woke up several hours later. It seemed that Bella and I had shifted on the couch, so that Bella was on her back and I had one arm under her around her waist, and my head was resting on her chest. Bella shifted some, and I could tell that she was awake, and I took a deep breath and sighed. I didn't mind being awake. I just wasn't ready to move. "How's my sleeping beauty?" Bella asked as she ran her fingers through my hair. "I thought I was Prince Charming," I mumbled. "Nope, you're too beautiful." We shifted so that we were facing one another, and I wrapped both arms around her waist so that she wouldn't fall off. "I thought I was just sort of beautiful," I mocked jokingly. "Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking," Bella laughed. "It is kind of like saying you're sort of tall." I couldn't keep the laughter in and my body shook against her until she completely fell off the couch. "Jerk," Bella smirked as she rolled back up and started tickling me on the couch. We both giggled and squirmed until it was me who fell off the couch. Bella stood up on the couch and threw her arms up in the air. "Champion," she yelled, until I knocked her knees out from under her and caught her before she hit the floor. "Jerk," Bella laughed. "Yep." I beamed and started to kiss her again. We kissed for a little while, both of us on the living room floor. "I need to get your dinner ready," Bella said, pulling her lips from mine. I contemplated simply starving so that I could keep kissing her, but my stomach growled, indicating that it didn't like that idea. We moved to the kitchen as Bella prepared dinner for us, Dad, and Charlie. We chatted as I worked on some simple homework that didn't take too much thought. An hour later, Charlie was here and got Dad from the extra room, where he had been working on his wood carvings, so that they could watch sports in the living room. I loved watching Bella puttering around our kitchen. It always felt like I was getting a tiny glimpse into a future of us living together and her preparing meals for our family. Bella would hum to herself and always seemed to be so happy in the kitchen, whether it was at her house or at mine. "Bells, do you ever think you would want to cook as your career?" I thought about it. Some say that you should find what you are passionate about and then turn that into a career, while some say that the stress of the career will cause you to lose your passion for what you once loved. I can see both of those being true, I acknowledged. So can I, which is why it is so hard deciding what I want to do with my life. Sometimes I think about being a teacher so that I can try to get the students to enjoy the classics. Sometimes I think about using the skills that I learned at Newton's, operating a small-town business, and doing something like that, but it being things that I'm interested in. Like what? I don't know, maybe a bookstore or a small restaurant? I can see those going well together. I can too, Bella smiled and started humming to herself again. I went back to silently watching her work until dinner was ready, so I cleared off my homework and set the table as Dad and Charlie took their seats. It was a great meal of steak with grilled onions, cheesy scalloped potatoes in a rich cream sauce, roasted broccoli, rolls, and apple crisp for dessert. "You know, Jake, she doesn't cook like this for just anyone." Charlie sighed. "Oh, I know." I could feel my grin stretch wide across my face into Bella's smile. Bella blushed a little, and I just loved seeing the pink in her cheeks. When she looked at me, I could see her love for me reflected in her eyes. It was so beautiful. "Jake, Bella, why don't you two take it easy and Charlie and I will clean up?" Dad offered. "Thanks for volunteering me." Charlie laughed. "Oh, come on, Charlie. You lived by yourself for 15 years, you know how to wash a plate." Dad taunted his friend. "Just because I know how, doesn't mean I do." Charlie grumbled. Thanks. Bella smiled and squeezed Charlie's hand as she got up from the table, and she patted my dad's shoulder as she walked towards me. She offered her hand to me. Come on, let's go. You don't have to tell me twice. I wrapped my hand around hers and stood from the table. Check you guys later. I nodded my head at our dads, who continued to banter about the dishes, and followed Bella. She put on her thick jacket and led us out the front door, to the garage. The temperatures were still very cold, and small flakes were falling from the sky, so I shut the door to the garage so that Bella wouldn't get so cold. When I turned back around, she was laying across the hood of the Rabbit, very relaxed, with one leg bent so that her foot pressed against the hood, and her other leg just danged over the edge. I know that she didn't mean anything suggestive by her position, but she looked incredibly sexy. Bella sighed. I miss being in here. Why? This is where it all began. Yeah, I walked over to her and ran my hand over her bent leg. Do you have any idea how sexy you are laying on my car? Bella rolled her eyes. Jake, you're insane.
You have got to be kidding me.
I leaned over her, kissing her, and she wrapped her arms around my neck, pulling me closer to her as we continued to kiss. I can't even tell you how many times I have fantasized about something like this. Oh yeah, Bella smirks. Is there anything else that you fantasize about? Before I could stop it, I could feel the heat come to my cheeks. Are you blushing, Jacob Black? Shut up. I placed my hands on either side of her shoulders and tried to lean away as she quickly wrapped both legs around my waist. No, you don't, Bella insisted. Please, Jake, tell me. You don't really want to know. And she really didn't. No girl knew how far into the gutter guys' minds go. Yes, I do. Bella gave me that look that I just can't refuse. All right, I conceded. Let's see. There's making out on the Rabbit. That doesn't count. Why not? I asked, confused. Because we just did that. True, but we are both wearing way too many clothes for that to count as the fantasy being fulfilled. Okay, fair enough. Bella conceded. What else? Why do you want to know this? I wondered. It didn't make much sense to me. I like knowing all your dreams. Who knows? Maybe I can make them come true. She smiled and blushed. You're so awesome, Bells. I leaned in and kissed her, as we kissed. Bella's legs relaxed and dropped from around my waist, and rested against the car. Bella tore her lips from mine. No fair, you're distracting me. Bella took a deep breath, to try to breathe normally again. Tell me another one. There is one with me working under the car, and I can see your bare feet and calves. I roll out, and you're completely naked. So I quickly loose my pants, and we have sex in here. Are there anywhere I actually have clothes on? There was one, but I wasn't sure how she would react, and once I thought of it, I could feel myself blushing again. How could you be even more embarrassed if I have clothes on? Bella asked, confused. Well, I felt speechless for the first time, and I didn't know what to say. I bit down on my bottom lip, a nervous gesture that I knew I picked up from Bella. Sorry, you don't have to tell me, Bella said, clearly trying to give me an out. Well, I knew that was supposed to make me feel better and reduce the pressure, but instead it made me feel even more. I didn't want this to become some big secret. It was just a fantasy, wishful thinking. I'll tell you, but I'm worried you will get grossed out or mad at me. I'll try not to and promise to keep an open mind. You know how you touch me. I looked down at my crotch. Bella nodded her head, but I could tell she was still really confused. Well, similar, but not with your hand. Bella continued to nod her head slowly, and I watched her face while I waited for her to figure it out. Her eyes blinked while she was thinking about it. Oh, Bella gasped. Surprised. You would want that. Yeah, I shrugged. I don't really know a guy that wouldn't. Bella's cheeks turned really red, and she bit her lip. Can I try it? What? Oh, I blurted out, completely taken by surprise. Bella's face fell, and I could tell that I really hurt her. Sorry, I wouldn't know what I was doing anyways. Bella stammered. Bella, that isn't it. I tried to reassure her and repair some of the damage that I caused. Then, I don't understand, Jake. I feel like you think I was asking for it. I wasn't. I clarified. I don't think you were. Just consider it your birthday present from me. Are you sure? Bella smiled and licked her lips. Yes. All right, I did not expect this at all, and I was really nervous. After the first time she touched me, she has continued, so that wasn't completely new. And most of the time I had basketball shorts so she could just slip in and then back out after it was over. It also seemed to always be surrounded by lots of kissing, so it never felt this thought out before. I leaned back away from the car and Bella slid off, and then we faced one another. I could tell that she was also a little nervous, so I wrapped my hands around her waist, pulling her to me, and started to kiss her. We continued to kiss until it felt completely normal. Soon my shirt was on the floor, as I leaned back against the car. Bella undid the button of my jeans, lowered the zipper, and pulled down my boxers so that I sprung free. I could feel Bella smile around my lips as we kissed, and she began to stroke me. I moaned into her mouth until she trailed kisses down my neck, chest, and abs, getting down on her knees. She continued to kiss, starting with the tip and then licked in a large circle before placing her lips completely around. I could feel myself completely relax into the car as she experimented with different strokes of her tongue and the pressure of her sucking. "Oh, Bells," I moaned. "This feels so good." I instantly realized that she had needed the encouragement and could feel her become a little more confident. She then used both hands to grab around the base and began pumping, taking me further down her throat as her head bobbed up and down my length. "Ah, now's the time to move, if you don't want me to come." She gave a hard squeeze with her lips, making me no longer be able to speak, as I bucked and released. She took it all, swallowing and then licking, until I was limp, and I didn't think that I could love her more, until she looked up at me and smiled. I put myself back in my pants, and then lifted her off the floor and pressed her back into the hood, as I kissed her. We kissed like we had never kissed before, and the passion was so intoxicating. I rubbed my hand across her stomach, and I felt the button of her jeans, and my fingers wanted her so badly. "Please, can I touch you?" I begged. "Yes," Bella panted. That was all I needed, and in seconds my fingers snapped her button open and lowered her zipper. Bella lifted her hips as I pushed her pants down past her thighs. I could smell her arousal. I have smelt it before, but it was so much more powerful without the barrier of clothes. I continued to kiss her as my hand trailed down her body, making sure to caress every curve on my way down. I rested my palm against her pelvic bone, and with my fingers began to massage her folds. "Oh yes," Bella moaned, as I slipped one finger inside. She was so slick and smooth, and she was so tight as one and then another finger rocked back and forth, stroking her. "Please, don't stop," Bella begged. I wasn't planning on it. I started kissing her again as her hips rocked against my hand and my long fingers continued to pump inside. We both needed to breath, and I began to lick over her neck and then found her earlobe and sucked it into my mouth. One hand began to palm her breast as I would take my fingers almost out and then plunge them in again, as she continued to thrust her hips, meeting one another's strokes. "Oh, Jake!" Bella half screamed as she convulsed, and I continued to pump her slowly until she completely relaxed. Watching Bella come down from her orgasm was seriously the sexiest thing I have ever seen. I slipped my fingers out and licked them. She looked to be made out of jello and didn't even try to get her pants back up. "I love you, Jacob Black." I leaned over, pressing my lips to hers. "And I love you, Bella Swan." "Happy birthday, Jake." "Happy birthday to me." Cough, cough, cough. "Dude, Embry, what the hell happened?" I asked between coughs. I left the kitchen for 5 minutes, and I came back to the room, being filled with smoke. "I don't know. I thought you were watching the bread." He pulled the completely black pieces out of the oven. "Obviously, I wasn't. I thought you heard me say that I was calling Bella and Jackie to say that we were ready so they could come over." "Nope. However, if the bread is the only thing we burn, I think it can still be considered a success." Embry laughs. "I knew there was a reason we bought 2 loaves," I said, laughing as well. "Embry and I were trying our best to cook Valentine's dinner for the girls. I knew that it was going to be a challenge, especially when Embry told me that he doesn't cook, but I didn't quite realize exactly how much he doesn't cook. About the only thing he has done successfully is boil water, and that is probably because I'm the one who filled it with water. I had him add the fettuccine noodles and he didn't know to stir. So first they were completely stuck together, and after a few minutes of stirring they started to separate and looked almost normal. Luckily I was already planning to add them to the chicken. I cooked and cover it all in Alfredo sauce, so the girls won't notice anything odd about the noodles. We also heated frozen vegetables, and had some bread that we added butter and garlic to. The bread was supposed to just be under the broiler for a few minutes, but I guess Embry didn't hear that part. I'm not sure why, but he has been really anxious all day. Embry threw away the burnt bread and opened a few windows to air out the smell while I prepared the other loaf of bread. Is everything all right? You've seemed kind of strange tonight. I don't know. He shrugged. Are things all right with you and Jackie? Yeah, we're fine. It's just she still worries about her stepdad coming back, and I hate that I can't just tell her the truth. I just guessed that she thought that we killed him. I countered. Well, she asked me if we did, and I told her that we didn't. Maybe I should have just let her keep that assumption, but I feel like I am constantly lying to the people most important to me. Embry answered disheartened. I'm sorry. I can't imagine what it would be like if Dad and Bella didn't know our secret. You have no idea. It sucks. Royally sucks. He gave a frustrated huff. I thought maybe I should change subject. Embry's mom was obsessed with movies, and so they had a huge assortment. What movie did you bring? I asked. Valentine's Day. I figured I couldn't go wrong. It's the name of the holiday we're celebrating. Embry answered. Never heard of it. Let's hope the girls have. It has got half of Hollywood in it, so it is bound to have someone they like. Embry reasoned. I shrugged. All right, sounds good. We both got quiet, but I could tell that Embry was still troubled, so I thought maybe together we could come up with a better solution. How about the two of us work out a half-truth for Jackie so that she can feel better? There is no reason for her to still be scared or nervous. I placed the bread in the oven and made sure that I was watching it closely this time. Yeah, I just can't think of anything. Embry countered. Well, animal attacks have been used before. Maybe we can use that again. But there is no body, Jake. Even better, no evidence to say that it wasn't an animal. I reasoned. How did some random animal get him? Embry asked. Let's see. I took a minute to try and think of something. Well, Jackie ran out of the house. Maybe he was trying to find her but was drunk and got lost in the woods. Okay, sounds reasonable. How would I or you know any of this? Embry questioned. She already knows that you and I were checking on things from the storm. Maybe we went by her house to make sure that he wasn't going to do something stupid and saw him being attacked. By what? Bears are hibernating. Wolves? Embry regretfully suggested. Sure, and that could explain the lack of body. If there were multiple wolves attacking a body. That just seems wrong to say it was a wolf. I know what you mean. However, not every wolf is as soft and cuddly as we are. I playfully punched him in the arm and we both laughed. I pulled the bread back out and instantly the place filled with the smell of garlic, butter, and bread. Ready or not, here we come. I heard both girls from outside. Luckily, the girls chose the moment I pulled the bread out to come in the front door. They had both just been hanging out at Jackie's house until I called them to say it was ready. Wow, it smells great in here, Jackie said, clearly impressed. I can't decide if we should be flattered or insulted. I pretended to be insulted. Jackie rolled her eyes. You are such a dork, Jake. Ouch. The hits just keep on coming. Embry placed his hand over his heart like it was getting a beating. Aren't you too theatrical tonight? Bella laughed. Of course, my lady. May I take your coat? I asked, trying to keep a straight face. Yes, you may. Bella unbuttoned her long black wool coat and placed it over my arm. I had on black jeans with buttoned gray dress shirt that I left untucked. She looked beautiful with a silk, long-sleeve red shirt and dark gray dress pants. And you, ma'am? I asked Jackie. You both look beautiful, Embry complimented. May I take you to your seat? He offered them each a hand. They gracefully put their finger in Embry's hand, and he sat them across from each other at the table. Embry had dark brown pants and white button-down shirt. We borrowed a red tablecloth to cover my normal kitchen table. Then we found a large white round candle and lit the 3 wicks and placed it in the center of the table. We also had 2 single-stem vases each with a red rose and put them on either side of the candle. We had silverware and glasses of water already on the table. And then Embry and I put the chicken Alfredo, vegetables, and bread on the girls' plate and placed it in front of them, then prepared plates for ourselves. Right before I sat down, I turned off the kitchen light and we ate the food by candlelight. It was a very relaxing meal. We took our time eating and chatting with one another. That seriously was fantastic. You guys, Bella complimented as she put her hand over mine. Thank you, I responded. Yeah, Jake saved the meal on countless occasions. Embry acknowledged. Thanks, Em. I appreciated the praise, but it was also a little embarrassing. I didn't really think of myself as a cook, but just something that Dad and I figured out as we went, so I felt it was important that Embry got equal credit. However, Embry made the brownies. While he added the water, eggs, and oil to the box powder, stirred it together and put it in a pan, but I knew he was proud of himself for that accomplishment. Embry was just pulling them out of the oven and the smell of warm chocolate filled the air. I got a carton of vanilla ice cream out of the freezer and bowls out of the cabinets. Embry placed a large square in the bottom of each bowl, and then I put a scoop of ice cream and drizzled it with chocolate syrup. Awesome job, Em, Jackie sighed, after taking a couple bites. If I could just live off brownies alone, we could be blissfully happy for the rest of our lives. Sounds perfect. Embry agreed, and leaned over and kissed her. Bella and I smiled at each other and then leaned over and kissed as well. Hey, Bells. She was brushing out her hair and had just sat down on the bed. I know that we made a deal for no presents, but I couldn't resist. Oh, Jake, Bella half groaned. What did you do? Nothing much, I swear. I went to my dresser and pulled out 2 boxes of conversation hearts. Ready? Catch? I yelled, as I launched one to her. The box bounced off her chest and then landed in her lap. Smooth, Jake. She smiled and opened the box. I opened my own box and sat next to her. Will you be my Valentine? I asked. Yes, she answered, leaned over, and kissed me. However, my grin was too big to really kiss her back, and she laughed. I found the text me and tossed it at her. What am I supposed to do with that? Bella asked. I have no idea. I laughed. She found a BFF and tossed it at me, which I laughed at. Then she found an I love you and flicked it at me, and I leaned over and kissed her. Hey, that's not what the heart said to do, Bella complained jokingly. Well, that is what it said to me, I grinned, and kissed her again. Then I found a my girl, and I passed it to her, which she grinned at. She found a cutie pie and gave it to me, and I rolled my eyes and ate it. We continued tossing our hearts at each other, laughing at the sayings and eating the hearts.
Then I pulled out Marry Me out of the box and tossed it at her.
Suddenly Bella got a little nervous and held it in the palm of her hand. How about we save this one for another time? I suggested. Sounds good, Bella agreed. I held out my palm to her. She put it back in my hand and I stood up and put it in my dresser drawer. Then I walked back to the bed, wrapped my arms around Bella, and rolled over to my back, pulling her on top of me. One of these days, Bells, I'll get you to say yes. Were you really asking me to marry you? She asked, surprised. No, not really. It just happened to be in the box. I clarified. One of these days, Jake, I'll be glad to say yes. She brought her lips to mine and we continued to kiss throughout the night. Our dads thought it would be easiest if we set up more of a routine of where we would be spending our time and, more importantly, sleeping. It seemed to work best for me to stay with Bella and the nights we came back from Port Angeles, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and Leah stayed as well. Bella stayed the weekends in Lattapush, and so the only nights we weren't together was Mondays and Wednesdays. While I missed her, it was also nice to spend the time with just Dad or Quill, or just have time to myself. The Cullens still watched Bella's house when we weren't together, and so patrols were mostly to our own land. So it didn't take very long and we were able to rotate so that it wasn't much of a burden to anyone. Bella and I were spending a fantastic Saturday riding our bikes all throughout the back roads of La Push. Charlie still hated the bikes, but he has relaxed a lot. I'm not sure if he feels better about it being in La Push because the roads are less traveled, or if he just decided to trust that we knew what we were doing. Regardless, today was a perfect day for riding because Dad and Charlie were getting ready to leave for a week for the Mariners' spring training that Bella and I got them for Christmas, so they were both busy. It was an unseasonably warm day, so we knew that we would be biking all day, so we packed several sandwiches, apples, and chips in a backpack that I carried to take with us. I was laying flat on my back in the dry grass, and Bella had her head resting on my stomach while we both ate our lunch. On days like this, it makes me think that this is what heaven is going to be like, Bella said, as she took a deep breath and sighed. I know what you mean. It has been pretty perfect, I sighed, as I continued to look up at the sky and eat. Jake, I really like you. I smiled. I like you too. Some of her hair was draped over my chest, so I twirled the strands through my fingers. We settled into a comfortable silence, just enjoying the heat from the sun and watching stray clouds. I thought that maybe Bella had fallen asleep until she softly spoke. I'm ready, she said calmly. Okay, I sat up so that I could stand and Bella's body rolled to her side with her head in my lap. We can go. No, not to leave. Bella sat up and crossed her legs under herself and took my hand. I'm ready to be with you completely, in every way. My jaw dropped and my eyes popped. It was the last thing I expected her to say. I knew that I needed to say something, but I didn't know what to say, and I had no idea what I was supposed to do. Did she mean literally right now? Or just whenever the next opportunity came? I had never been more hopelessly clueless in all my life. Say something, Bella whispered. I don't know what to say, I confessed, while I tried to form a sentence and just couldn't. Help me out here. What am I supposed to do? You could seem a little less freaked out and a little more happy, Bella offered. Oh, Bella, I wrapped my arms around her, hugging her tightly. I'm beyond happy, but I am a little freaked out. That sort of came out of nowhere. Yeah, I can see that, sorry, she said with her head resting on my chest. You don't need to be sorry. I brought my finger under her chin and lifted her face up so that I could press my lips to hers. We continued to kiss, wrapped tightly in each other's arms, and it was different just knowing that I didn't have to hold myself back. No matter how close we had been, there was always the knowledge, in the back of my mind, that Bella wasn't really ready. That made me hold back, and I made sure that we weren't doing anything that made her feel uncomfortable. I never wanted her to feel pressured, so I haven't asked her about what she wouldn't tell me. I also couldn't decide if it was any of my business or if I really wanted to know, but I have never forgotten about it. As we kissed, Bella began to rub her hands under the sleeves of my t-shirt, touching my shoulders, which usually indicated that she wanted me to take my shirt off. I broke our kiss and pulled my shirt over my head, and Bella began to do the same thing with her own. Wait, Bella. I stopped her with it halfway over her head and I heard a mumbled, why, before she brought it back down. I don't have protection with me. Bella looked down shyly. Have you ever, been with someone before? Bella asked while blushing. No, but it's more than that. I'm not exactly ready to be a dad. Bella shook her head. I'm on birth control, she said softly. Oh, I couldn't decide if that was something that I should have already known. I guess it wasn't really my business, and it is nice that she was being responsible. It was Renee the last time I visited. She freaked out that I wasn't on it, and it was just easier to go with it than try and convince her that I didn't need it. I guess that seemed reasonable, until I started thinking about it a little more. Wait, weren't you with Edward when you visited Renee? Exactly. I was dating a vampire. I didn't need birth control, Bella stated. Like it should have been obvious to me. It was so embarrassing. Edward could completely read Renee's mind and thought it was hilarious. Bella rolled her eyes. Bella, are you sure? I asked. Yes. She reached up and kissed me, pulling herself into my lap, straddling my hips. I kissed her back and pulled back, placing my hands round her waist. Belle's just after what you told me today. I really don't think I'll be able to stop. I don't want you to. I love you, Jake. She smiled and wrapped both arms around my neck. I love you too, Bella. More and more every day. It's just, do you not want to? Bella asked, confused. Of course I do. I leaned down and kissed her. I just wanted to be sure. Well, I am sure. Now shut up and kiss me. She smiled as we kissed and her hands plunged into my hair, pressing our bodies together. I laid back down on the grass, bringing Bella on top of me as my hands rubbed her waist and back. The only time our lips left each other was when Bella's shirt came off and then she kissed up my chest back to my lips. My hands were everywhere, over her back and shoulders surrounded by her hair, and across her stomach and breasts. She rubbed me the same way, slowly taking her hands across my chest lower to my abs and around my waist. Her fingers danced along the edges of my cargo pants before finding the button in the center that was belted closed. She continued to feel, trying to figure out the buckle. It wasn't overly complicated, with 2 circles that you put the belt through, and then double back the other direction through one of the circles. However, it does show that I wouldn't have chosen these pants had I known what we would be doing. Here, let me, I mumbled to her, as I knocked her hands out of the way. Instantly, Bella recoiled like I had actually hit her, and I thought maybe I pushed her hands too hard, hurting one of her fingers or something. Bella, are you okay? No. Bella curled herself into a ball, wrapping her arms around her legs, and resting her head on her knees. No, Edward, she said so softly that without my wolf hearing, I probably wouldn't have heard her. What did you just say? I yelled, instantly angry. Her head snapped up. Clearly she didn't mean for me to hear her. Damn it, Bella, I am not Edward. I growled, as my arms were shaking and I could feel my wolf snarl from within. I know you're not, Bella answered, her face panicked. I wasn't calling you Edward. Then what was that? I took a deep breath, trying to calm my rage. Why are you so freaked out? Did I hurt you? No, you didn't hurt me. She wiggled all 10 fingers at me to offer some proof. I'm sorry I freaked out. I didn't mean to. You said you were ready, I challenged. No, I am. She clarified. It's just, you said the same thing he said to me, and my brain flashed to him, and I couldn't continue like that. Well, that's big of you, I mumbled sarcastically. She uncoiled herself and placed her hand just above my knee. I'm sorry. I rolled my eyes. I keep hearing that, and I don't know what to do with that right now. What are you sorry for? For freaking out? For making a mess of this? Do you still wish you were with Edward? I couldn't believe that I was still asking her that question, and I felt my shaking increase. No, she answered adamantly. Do you still love him? I challenged, not quite ready to let it go. Not like I did before. That answer wasn't doing a lot for my confidence, but I could feel my shaking and knew I needed to try and calm down. I closed my eyes and took several deep breaths. Bella, I need to know what you're not telling me. It's over. There's nothing to tell. Bella insisted. I understand. She bit down on her lip. Can I have some time? Yes, you can have as much time as you need. My emotions were all over the place. It probably wouldn't have been good for me to hear it right now. But I want you to know something, and this isn't to rush you or anything. I'm not going to sleep with you until you tell me. All right, Bella agreed. We got our stuff gathered and rode our bikes back to my house. Though we stayed together, attached at the hips like normal, there was a distance between us that we haven't had before. We sat and slept next to each other instead of really with one another, and our conversations were strained and awkward. By the end of the day on Sunday, I almost welcomed the distraction that school provided, and I knew that was pretty bad. The plans were for Bella to just stay here for the week that Charlie and Dad were gone, and a few days ago I was really looking forward to it. However, with the tension between us, I had no idea what the week would be like. I was helping Dad get packed, and Bella was taking a shower. Jake, is everything okay? He asked. Sure, I responded. He half laughed. You know, that doesn't really answer the question. Yep, that's why I say it so much. I smiled at him. He shook his head. I have never seen you, and Bella so distant. Did you get into a fight? Talk to me, son. You don't want to know, I responded, indicating the don't tell policy. Remember? I questioned. I remember there being an exception, that if you needed me, that was more important to me than any complications I may have with Charlie. I gave him a short summary of what happened that afternoon, leaving out that it would have been our first time, and mentioned that Bella freaked out when I said the same thing that Edward said. I don't know what to do, Dad. Do I have a right to know what happened between her and Edward? That depends on if it affects you and Bella. It seems like it does, so you should probably know. But really, what can she do with a vampire? Dad asked, skeptical. I have no idea, which is sort of the problem. However, I think it is safe to say that the Cullens are not normal vampires. Good point, Dad agreed. Sorry, I don't feel like I have been much help. That seemed to be the cue he needed, that this conversation was over, and he began to talk about his trip and who they would get to see. I just nodded and smiled when I was supposed to while I finished gathering his clothes and supplies, and he packed them in the suitcase where he wanted them. After we finished, I got Dad bathed and ready for bed. Then I showered and crawled into bed with Bella. She was already asleep, so I wrapped my arms around her and held her tightly. I really missed the closeness that we usually had, and enjoyed having her in my arms, until I also went to sleep. Our dads left the following morning, and Bella and I continued to dance awkwardly around each other until we got back late Tuesday night. I went frustrated to my room. Being around Alice and Edward tonight was more difficult than normal, and I knew it was all me, and not really anything they did. However, it didn't help that I knew that Edward would know everything if I thought about it. I did the best I could to think of other things, so he didn't know specifically what our problem was. My thoughts were busy enough for him to know that something was going on, and that I was purposefully keeping it from him. Having to think about a bunch pointless crap on the ride home just added to the frustration that I was already feeling. Jake, I'm sorry. She came in and sat next to me on the bed. I don't want your sorries. I answered. I stood up, needing the physical distance, and began to pace back and forth. I know that. She watched me walking back and forth. That isn't even what I meant to say. Then, what is it, Bells? I'm ready. I rolled my eyes and huffed. Bella, we already covered that. Bella smiled as she stood up, walked in front of me, and took both my hands. Not for that, but we'll get there. I promise. She took a deep breath. I'm ready to tell you everything. I'm ready. I rolled my eyes. Bella, we already covered that. She smiled as she stood up, walked right in front of me, and took both my hands. Not for that, but we'll get there. I promise. She took a deep breath. I'm ready to tell you everything. I took a deep breath as well. Okay, I'm ready to listen. First, I feel like I need to tell you why it has taken me so long. Tell you, I nodded my head as she pulled my arms back towards the bed to sit down. I scooted, leaning my back against the wall, resting my elbows on my bent knees, and didn't say anything so that Bella would continue. At first, I didn't really think that there was anything to tell. I raised my eyebrows doubtfully. I know, that seems silly now. Then once I realized that I needed to tell you, I didn't want to hurt you, and I was really embarrassed. Why? I would think that you could tell me anything. I can, which is why I am, but it's still embarrassing because we tried. Tried? I asked for clarification, even though I had a feeling that this, or something close to it, would be what she was going to say. To have sex, Bella added nervously, and failed. I questioned, reluctantly. I wasn't really sure how someone could fail, but it was a better option than to think of them being successful. I really didn't want to know that he had been with her. My stomach clenched, and I was angry that either of them would be so stupid and reckless. For me to know that about any guy would suck, but it being a vampire just added an element that was extremely scary. Bella's cheeks turned very red as she bit her lip. More like, was interrupted. I cringed. No matter who it was, that would be embarrassing. Who interrupted? I could only imagine if it had been Charlie, but I think I would have heard if he had tried to shoot Edward. I'll get to that. Bella paused to take another deep breath. Okay, them being interrupted was better, but I was still really confused. Can you back up for me? You wanted to have sex with a vampire. Were you crazy? Crazy in love. I rolled my eyes. I can't believe you're serious. Wouldn't he have killed you? Edward would never hurt me. Right before I was going to challenge her, I saw Bella hesitate, and I knew she was thinking of something. He did hurt you, didn't he? I countered. Once. But it was nothing. She justified, while I shook my head and rolled my eyes. Seriously, he grabbed my leg too hard and left a handprint. That was it. And what were you doing that made him grab you too hard? I felt like I knew the answer, but I wanted her to say it. That is not the point, she countered, as she got up and started pacing back and forth. Answer the question, I insisted. We were making out. Then it sounds like it is exactly the point, I interrupted. Let me finish, she huffed. He immediately realized what he did and backed off, completely to the other side of the room. He felt really bad and wouldn't touch me for days. After I proved to him that I was completely healed, he relaxed. It was silent for a little bit. I wasn't sure if she was finished or just trying to figure out what to say next. I can't believe he would put your life at risk, just to get him some, I said, disgusted. Believe me, I would be the last person to defend him, but he always seemed too prime and proper for that, and I was honestly surprised. Bella came back and sat on the end of the bed with her legs curled under her. It wasn't like that, it was all me. That day we had been making out, it triggered something in me, and I became sort of obsessed. I was dreaming about it almost every night. I remembered how active Bella would dream, especially the first night she was here. Of course she cried any time she was awake, but once she was asleep, she was a completely different person. Rubbing against me, the way she moaned Edward's name, I had no idea how he would be able to refuse. The memory made me cringe and shudder at the same time. She seemed to be watching and waiting for me. What did Edward do? I asked. Bella laughed humorlessly. He was completely on the other side of my room, every morning. There is no doubt that he knew what I was wanting, which was sort of embarrassing, but him ignoring it made me even more frustrated than I already was. I shook my head. I just couldn't believe what she was telling me. I knew that Bella was a little crazy, and sort of messed up, but I had no idea it was this bad. Bella continued, I knew that I was going to need help to get what I wanted, and Alice wanted to dress me up. She wanted what? I asked, confused. She likes to dress me up like an overgrown Barbie. I normally never would let her have more than 1 or 2 outfits, but I agreed to let her dress me up for the whole day, one weekend when the rest of the Cullens went hunting. Alice was in heaven, and with each new look, Edward was caving. I can imagine. Alice has good taste. I have seen some of the outfits that Alice has picked out for her. They were always tighter and more low-cut than Bella would normally wear, so I could guess what some of them would be like. Yes, she does, and we weren't going anywhere, so modesty was pretty much thrown aside. Bella blushed, and we looked at each other, both of us a little uncomfortable. Anyways, Bella continued, as she was getting me in the last outfit, she told me that she knew what I was wanting to do. Was she able to tell you if it was going to work? I asked. At first, no, I asked, and she couldn't, but after she got me dressed, she told me that she could tell that it was going to work, and that we were going to be fine. Bella answered. She gave me a big hug and then ran off to meet the rest of the family, leaving me with Edward. Bella sighed nervously. Do I even want to know what you were wearing? I asked reluctantly. Probably not, but honestly it wasn't that bad. Black leggings and a royal blue cashmere mini dress with sleeves off my shoulders and a plunging neckline. Is it the clothes that allowed Alice to know it was going to be okay? I wasn't really all that familiar with what made Alice's visions come true, or possibly change, or whatever it was that they did. That is what she said, that it was a process of getting Edward to agree to it. And once I was wearing it, then she could see how he was going to react to it. However, I knew that Edward would never just get caught up in the moment. He was always too careful with me, Bella explained, and I had to bite my tongue to keep from responding. Bella continued. I had one more thing that I was willing to use. There was something that Edward wanted equally as bad as I wanted this. What was that? I asked. I couldn't imagine what Edward could possibly want that Bella wouldn't just easily agree to. For me to marry him. I felt like I had been punched in the gut, even though it made sense. I knew how uncomfortable Bella was with getting married. I could feel my emotions boil with anger, and I leaped off the bed. You were engaged to him, I accused. Bella leaned back from my sudden anger and surprise, then brought her knees up to her chest, and wrapped her arms around her legs. No, well, sort of. How do you get to be sort of engaged? I interrupted. I did tell him that I would marry him if he would sleep with me. Holy shit, Bella. That is horrible. I couldn't believe that Bella would use marriage as a bargaining chip to get sex. Once again, I started pacing back and forth to release some of the nervous energy that my wolf was creating. Yeah, I know, Bella responded, and it seemed she had the good sense to look guilty about it. Look at it from my side. I was already wanting to become a vampire. I couldn't get more committed to someone than that. That just makes you seem even more insane, Bella, I growled. I hated it when she mentioned how much she really wanted to be a vampire. Not only was it a twisted form of suicide, it always reminded me of how close I was to losing her. Yeah, I can see that. She was watching me walk back and forth. Will you please come sit back down? Your pacing is driving me crazy. I took 2 deep breaths to calm myself back down. Girl, you went crazy a long time ago. Bella rolled her eyes and I smiled as I sat next to her on the bed. Thank you. She smiled at me and watched my eyes to see if I was still angry at her as she took my hand. I wasn't really angry. It was just a lot of information to take in. I felt like at some point my brain was going to hit information overload and just shut down. I ran my thumb across the back of her hand and gave her a weak smile. As you were saying, Bella took a deep breath. Okay, I wanted to have sex while I was still human. Also, it was important to Edward to be sure I had human experiences, so that I wouldn't have any regrets after I was changed. So that also worked in my favor, so he finally agreed that we could try. But he wanted to wait until we were married. I didn't want to wait, so the deal was either that night, or I wouldn't marry him. That seems kind of harsh. You're right, it was, and I was really nervous. He could hear my heart racing, and pretty much agreed to anything without even knowing what it was. I scooted towards the wall to rest my back against it, and Bella did the same. Once we were settled, our hands joined together. It was such a habit that I didn't know if I had taken hers or her mine. I looked down at her tiny hand around my own, and she seemed so breakable. Bella continued. At the time, I saw it as him pushing me away. When he didn't need to, I was completely convinced that we could do it, and that he wouldn't hurt me. It was an example of him making the decision for me, instead of us talking about it together. You mentioned that was a problem that you had with him. Yes, it was. However, it was actually me telling him about Alice's confirmation that convinced Edward that it was going to be okay, and he agreed to try that night as long as I wouldn't push him if it got too much. I knew how stubborn Bella could be, especially when she really believed something. There was something strangely normal that it would be Edward, the vampire, to have to tell Bella, the human, to not push him too far. Once again, I just shook my head, trying to absorb everything she was telling me. You said that you were Brad, interrupted. I stated. My stomach was in knots. I really wasn't sure how much more I wanted to know. Bella watched my face, probably looking at me to indicate when I had heard enough, and squeezed my hand. Yes, after Edward agreed. Bella took a deep breath, and spoke slowly, taking time to gather her thoughts. We kissed and touched each other. I was nervous and excited, which caused my fingers to struggle with his shirt buttons, and that is when he said, "What you said here, let me." I swallowed and nodded my head. At least it made a little more sense why her brain would have flashed from me to him. It was a very similar situation. We got most of our clothes off so that we were both in our underwear, climbed back into the bed, and he had just flicked the clasp of my bra when Alice flung the door open, screaming for us to stop. I guess that wasn't as bad as it could have been, and I released the breath that I didn't realize I was holding. I thought Alice gave the all clear, I asked, confused that it was Alice who interrupted. Apparently she lied to me. Whoa, I stated, amazed. She believed what she said was true, but couldn't really see it until Edward actually agreed to it. Once she did see, she ran back to stop it. What did Alice see? I asked, curious. I don't know, Bella huffed. She seemed sort of irritated. Neither Alice nor Edward would tell me. At the time she was mumbling a bunch of stuff when she came barging in, but I was a little too shocked and pissed to be paying attention to what she said. What did Edward do? First he sat there completely frozen, like he went into shock or something. Alice said that he would snap out of it in a few minutes, handed me some clothes and had me eat something. Once Edward came to, he yelled at Alice to meet him outside and they were out for a while. Bella took a deep breath. Let's just say things were pretty awkward after that. I bet so. Did you ever try it again? No, Edward said it was too risky. He said that Carlisle was looking into it. Wait, he told Carlisle what Alice saw but wouldn't tell you. I interrupted. Yeah, I was pretty annoyed with that too. He said that he felt that sometimes we weren't supposed to know what Alice saw, and so it would be better for me to not know. Do you wish that you knew what it was? I asked. I did at the time, but I don't really care now. It doesn't matter. Bella shrugged. Whatever was going to happen clearly isn't anymore. I wasn't sure what else I should ask, so I just decided to let the silence hang for a little bit and for us both to mull over our own thoughts. How do you feel about all this? Bella asked as she scooted closer to my body and rested her head against my arm. I don't know. This hasn't been easy at all. Part of me is relieved that you didn't actually do it, but the fact that you tried really sucks. At times it was like you were describing someone I don't know at all. Bella opened her mouth to protest, but I kept going. I mean, I know that you loved him, but I've never really understood how you can love a vampire. It has never made sense to me. I also don't like that you wanted it with someone else so badly. Have you ever? Not with anyone else, not even close. Bella answered my badly asked question. Is there anything else at all that I need to know? I asked, praying that there wasn't. I don't think so. The next week is when Alice got her vision of Victoria. It was during school, and I could tell she saw something. When I asked Edward about it, he lied, saying it was something to do with Jasper. Nothing significant happened in Florida, other than the birth control, which I already told you about. When you came to school and confirmed to me what Alice really saw, it was over. Edward came back to class and tried to explain himself, but I wouldn't listen. He had driven me to school that day, so I allowed him to drive me back to the house, but there wasn't anything he could say. I cried for a little while on my couch, and I just needed to get away, so I ran to my truck. Edward stood in front of the door, blocking me, and then he fell to his knees, begging for another chance, but I walked around him and left him as it started to rain. I wish that I could say that I was coming to you, but I was just driving and didn't even realize I was in lat push until the truck sputtered and died. I beat the steering wheel for a while until my knuckles were sore, so I decided I would walk to your house to see if you could at least fix the truck. You know the rest. I have been with you ever since. She took a deep breath and once again rested her head against my arm. Her head felt heavy and I looked at the clock and it was almost 4 in the morning. Wow, Bella, it is really late. We need to get some sleep. Bella looked up at the clock. Dang, I can't believe that took so long. Sorry. Sorry, Bella smirked, and sprung up from the bed, and ran out the door. I just chuckled, and let her go. I gathered a clean pair of shorts, and decided I wanted to take a quick shower in Dad's room. I yelled at Bella through the door to the other bathroom, so she would know where I went. It was a few minutes later that I was all clean and ready to get some sleep. I walked in my room and Bella was curled up on my bed. I texted Leah and told her that I wasn't going to class tomorrow, and asked if she could get Sue to excuse you from school, she said. You are awesome, thanks. I lay down next to her, and she curled her body into my side. Are we okay, Jake? Bella looked up at my face. Yeah, we are fine. Do you promise? Yes, I wrapped both arms around her, leaned down and kissed her. I promise, I added. Thank you for understanding. I am sorry. What exactly have you been apologizing for? Thank you. I looked down at her relaxed face. She was always so beautiful to me, but tonight there really was a peacefulness to her that I knew was from her getting that secret off her chest. I wasn't quite so relaxed and my brain was really wired from all the information, so I just continued to watch her sleeping. I could hear her heartbeats as her chest would rise and fall steady, and her lips curled into a soft smile. Jacob, my Jake, Bella mumbled and sighed. I wrapped her a little tighter to me. I'm here. Instantly, I never wanted to sleep again because I didn't want to miss her dreaming of me. I brushed a few hairs from her face, tucking them behind her ear, and continued to gaze at her until my eyelids got too heavy and they fluttered before closing for the night. I woke up to Bella's lips pressed to mine, and the smell of breakfast, two of my most favorite things. Good morning, sleepyhead, Bella smiled. I stretched in bed and smiled back at her. I had slept really great, but I was still pretty tired, and looked at the clock, and it was just after 9, so I had only slept for about 4 hours. What are you doing up? I asked her. I may talk in my sleep, but apparently you growl in yours. She smiled. You were hungry and your stomach woke me up. Sorry, I shrugged. Don't worry about it. I don't sleep in very well. I woke up about an hour ago, so I decided to shower and then make breakfast. Bella answered as she handed me a plate filled with 4 blueberry waffles, drenched in syrup and 5 strips of bacon. I know the lack of sleep will catch up with me and I'll need a nap later. Instantly my stomach growled and she laughed as I sat up and took the plate. You are the best. Thanks. Bella sat down on the end of the bed. Aren't you going to eat? I asked. I ate mine while I was waiting for your waffles to cook. I shrugged. That seemed reasonable. We were quiet while I quickly ate my food and then sat the plate on the floor next to the bed. So what do you want to do today? I asked. Shouldn't that be sort of obvious? Bella countered as she crawled across the bed closer to me. She was in my t-shirt that came to about mid-thigh. Yeah, I guess so. I smiled at her, and Bella giggled as I pulled her into my lap. With both hands at her waist, I looked into her eyes. They leapt into her eyes. Bella, I love you so much. I love you too, Jake. Bella put one arm around behind my neck, and her other hand rested on my shoulder. I know, that is what makes us so right. Yes, it does. Are you really ready? I asked. Completely, Bella affirmed, without any hesitation. Are you nervous? One of my hands slipped from her waist, landing on her hip, and I lightly massaged the soft skin from her knee to her thigh. No, I feel like I should be, but I'm not. Bella answered. I'm not either. I really wasn't. I knew that this was a big moment, and it should be. I don't want you to think that this isn't meaningful to me. Bella, having you when I know what it feels like to think you won't be coming back is just beyond words. Oh, Jake. Bella's arms snaked around my neck, and I held her tightly as we hugged. I hate how much pain I have caused you. Don't do that. I didn't want her to beat herself up. It's over and you're here with me. I kissed the top of her head. You're right. And you need to know that it really is over. I don't want anyone but you. Bella leaned back to place her hands on my face, cupping my cheeks. I'm not holding on to them as some sick backup plan in case things with you don't work out. Thanks. I didn't really think that... Yes, you did. Bella interrupted, looking me in the eyes. Okay, maybe a little bit, but deep down, I knew that you really weren't. It was just my insecurity that sometimes made that idea come up. I leaned my forehead against hers. Thanks, I appreciate the benefit of the doubt. Bella took a deep breath and then tilted her lips, pressing them against mine. It was a kiss filled with commitment and passion, and I want to put those insecurities to rest. I'll never leave you again. Bella promised, I love you too much. I know that, to be completely with you is my greatest dream, coming true, I said honestly, as I gave her my trust, and placed my heart completely into her hands as she completely placed her own heart into mine. Our lips came together. My hands continued to massage her legs and back as Bella's tongue dived into my mouth. Bella murmured. What? I mumbled, between kisses. Your mouth tastes like syrup. She licked my lips and continued to kiss me. While it felt great and clearly it wasn't bothering her, it really made me want to go brush my teeth. I pulled my lips back from hers. What's wrong? Bella asked. I need to go to the bathroom. For some reason that seemed less embarrassing than admitting I might have morning breath. I'll be right back. Bella gave a simple smile and crawled out of my lap so I could stand up. I picked my plate off the floor and put it in the kitchen, then went to the bathroom, brushed my teeth, used the restroom, and washed my hands and face to make myself be fully awake. I came back and Bella was curled up on the bed with the sheet covering her. There was something about the way she was covered that seemed different. I stepped closer to Bella, watching her face, and the closer I got, the more she blushed. Bella, are you naked? She grinned and nodded her head. Would you like for me to be? Yes, she answered. I expected her to blush more, but her face relaxed and she smiled easily. As you wish. I slipped my shorts off and stood before her completely naked for the first time. Being naked was something that I was comfortable with, and usually didn't give much thought to, until I watched Bella's eyes trail over my body. Like what you see, Bells. Bella smirked, pursing her lips like she was having to think of her answer. What? I asked, suddenly self-conscious. Bella laughed. Geez, Jake, for someone who spends so much time naked, you sure seem nervous, Bella teased. You should know you have the body to die for. I instantly felt relieved. Well, are you going to just lay there staring, or do I get to join you? Bella flung the sheet off herself. Come and get it. There was no need to tell me twice. My eyes raked over her naked form, as I practically pounced on her, completely covering her with my body. Bella was on her back, and shrieked at my sudden movement. My weight was held by my elbows that were on either side of her shoulders, and I could feel her body against my own. The softness of her skin against my own was absolutely amazing. Wow, Bells, we totally should have gotten naked sooner. I know, we feel incredible. Her arms wrapped around my waist, exploring my bare backside, thighs, hips, and back. At the same time, I shifted my weight to my left elbow and began to massage down her shoulder, breast, waist, and around her hip. We didn't kiss, but murmured our love and praises to one another as we watched each other explore our bodies and how they fit together perfectly. Our lips found each other as I rolled over to my back, rolling Bella with me so that she was on top. Bella tore her lips from mine for a second so she could reach behind her and drape the sheet over her body. There was something extremely intimate about the sheet covering us, and the soft fabric felt really great. Her lips landed back on mine roughly as she sucked my bottom lip and her fingers dug into my shoulders. My lips matched her own force, and our lips and tongues fought against each other as my hands curved around her hips and backside, pushing her center against my own. We both moaned as she rubbed against my length, rocking her hips. Suddenly, I felt myself explode and fluid sprayed across Bella and the bed. I'm sorry, I panted, completely embarrassed. Bella sat up and looked at her messy stomach and started laughing. I didn't think about it not having somewhere to go. Bella continued to laugh and I began to relax and was able to laugh with her. I found the t-shirt Bella had been wearing folded on the floor. I picked it up and handed it to her. Here, use this. Bella took the shirt and began to wipe herself, and I slipped out from under her and went to the bathroom to clean myself. Even though Bella handled it extremely well, I was still so embarrassed. The only plus side that I could see was that it might give me a fighting chance of lasting a little longer when we started again, assuming that it didn't scare her and make her not want to go any further. I began to think about how great her naked skin felt against mine, and I could see that I wasn't going to have a problem being ready to go again. I decided to take a hand towel with me this time, and walked back to my room. Bella was laying on her side in the bed with the sheet cuddled to her chest, but her back was fully exposed and she was absolutely beautiful. I'm sorry, Jake. She looked at me and opened the sheet for me to be able to crawl next to her. I laid down on my side facing her. Shouldn't I be the one apologizing? Bella shrugged. It was an accident. Let's just move on. It's not that big of a deal. Don't we have to wait or something? Bella asked. I lightly rocked my hips into her so that she could feel me. I think we'll be okay. Impressive, she smirked. Now that was the reaction I was going for. We both grinned at each other as we wrapped our arms around each other's waist. Once again we began to kiss and touch one another. Soon, we were both desperate for oxygen and I rolled Bella over to her back and began to kiss down her neck, sucking the flesh of her pulse point between my lips before continuing between her breasts. I licked across her nipple, then blew across it, watching it firm before licking it again. I loved the feel on my tongue as I sucked it in my mouth and continued to make love to her left breast, while my hand massaged and pinched her right. Bella made beautiful noises as her hips rocked against my stomach. Oh, Jake, Bella moaned. I want you to feel me.
My pleasure.
I brought my mouth back to hers, and my hand trailed down her body, teasing her folds before slipping one finger in. She was still really tight and I knew I was much bigger than a finger, so I slipped another finger and began to pump and spread my fingers. Let me know if I hurt you. Oh, Bella half answered. I'm serious. I'm only worried about hurting you. Bella shrugged. That just comes with it. I know, but I wish that it didn't. Just keep doing what you're doing. It's working. Talking about the pain, I could feel Bella tense around my hand, so I decided that talking wasn't helping, and went back to kissing her. Bella's body was pressed into my own, and I could feel her rocking against my hand as I slowly added a third finger. Wait, Bella tensed, and I stopped moving. Do you want me to stop? No, just give me a minute. Relax, Bella. I could feel her body relax and sink into my hand. Her head nodded, and I began to kiss her neck, then suck her breasts, as my hand started to pump her again. I could feel the walls that surrounded my hand get wetter and wetter and I could slide easier. Bella's moans filled the room and I could tell that she was getting close. I used the heel of my palm to stroke her nerves while my fingers filled her completely, coming back and forth, back and forth. Then I felt her body clench around my fingers as she shook and trembled. Instead of allowing her to calm down, I continued to stroke her insides, and my hand was completely soaked. I made sure that I was at her entrance. I took my hand out, wrapping it around myself to transfer the moisture to it, and then plunged inside. Bella gave a solid grunt. Are you okay? I asked. I was about halfway in and my body desperately wanted to move, but I wanted to make sure first. Yeah, I'm fine. I was leaning over her body, my arms supporting my weight, and as I lowered over her, I went deeper inside. I looked down at Bella's face as I filled her completely. Her hands were at my hips and would push against me to have me slow down and then pull me towards her. She seemed completely relaxed. I was too tall to kiss her right now, however. She kissed me, sucking on my chest and collarbone. Feeling myself surrounded by her was absolutely amazing, and more than I could have imagined. I rocked my hips, taking myself back and forth, and Bella rocked her hips, meeting my thrusts. Her hands rubbed my back and shoulders at times, digging her nails into my flesh. We continued to moan and mumble, not making any coherent sentence or thought. My hips pounded into her again, feeling every part of me connected to every part of her as my own body convulsed like it had never before. We both continued to buck up into one another until I was completely empty, with one wave after another rocking my body with heat and passion. My body felt weak, and I wanted to just collapse, but instead I pulled out, wiped myself with the hand towel, and then placed it between her legs. Bella rolled over to her side. I snuggled next to her, and Bella moved to rest her head on my chest. I love you, Bells. I grabbed the sheet, draping it over her body, and wrapped my arms around her. I love you too, Bella mumbled before drifting to sleep. I took a deep breath and my stomach growled, but it was just gonna have to wait. I woke up several hours later, with myself tucked behind Bella as she slept. I took a deep breath and we smelled like sex. I never really understood what that meant until now, but I could smell the mixture of her fluids with mine and her scent mixed with my own, and it was fantastic. I buried my nose into her neck. Instinctively, Bella rolled her head, and I placed feather-light kisses across her neck and shoulder. Bella took a deep breath, and I could feel her stretch and squirm. Good afternoon, beautiful, I whispered in her ear, and I held her tightly to my body. Good afternoon. Bella turned her head, and I brought my lips to hers. Are we just going to stay in bed all day? Bella smiled. Pretty much. I grinned. I was completely content to never move, but once again my stomach decided that it had been patient enough and started demanding food. Or maybe not, Bella smirked. I'm hungry too, but I need to shower first. We stink. I began to laugh. I thought it smelled great. If we shower, that just means we will have to do it again, so we can get the smell back. We'll see about that. Bella got out of bed and I could see a little blood on the towel left on the bed. How do you feel, Bells? I asked as she got some clothes for herself. A little sore, but nothing too bad. Did it hurt? I asked. The stretching was uncomfortable, but the pleasure far outweighed the pain. She reached out and took my hand. Are you coming? To shower. With you? Hell yes. We walked to the bathroom together and in the shower took our time washing each other's bodies and just enjoying being together. I washed her hair and then I got down on my knees so that she could wash mine. Afterwards I grabbed a towel, cloaked it around her, running my hands over her body, and finally wrapped my arms around her, smelling her fresh scent. We quickly got dressed and then immediately started to find food. Ham and cheese sandwiches were quick and easy, and I probably ate 6 or more of them, plus a bag of chips, and 3 apples. Geez, Jake, slow down. Bella watched in amazement. Sorry, really hungry? Even without working up an appetite, I completely missed lunch.
So now, what do you want to do with our day?
Belle asked, sitting on the couch. Oh, I thought we would eat. Have sex, eat, have sex again, and then eat. I smirked, as I sat down next to her. Ha ha. Very funny. Bella rolled her eyes and I ran a finger down her collarbone. Were you serious? Bella asked, looking a little scared. No, but wouldn't it be fun? I grinned, wrapping my arms around her. Bella giggled. We can do whatever you want to do. Take a walk, or just stay here and watch a movie. Let's watch a movie, Bella suggested. Embry had brought over a few movies, so I looked through what he had brought and decided on Kate and Leopold. I came and sat back down on the couch, and Bella laid her head in my lap. It was a cute movie, and the whole time travel element was cool. Afterwards, Bella started making dinner, and I called Embry to see what I missed at school today. I called him because I knew I wouldn't have to answer 100 questions of what was going on, the way I would have with Quell. They would all know soon enough, and I wanted to just keep it between me and Bella for right now. Bella brought me a plate of chicken smothered with honey mustard, cheddar cheese and bacon over rice and mixed vegetables. Like everything she makes, it was fantastic. After eating, Bella was ready to go for a walk, so I slipped on a shirt and shoes while Bella got hers and her jacket, and we went to the beach. We walked hand in hand to our driftwood tree and sat down watching the sun slip into the horizon, and slowly stars began to twinkle in the night sky. Today was beyond amazing, probably the best day of my life, better than I could have possibly imagined. There was absolutely nothing that I regretted, and the only thing I would change is to magically make it never end. What are you thinking? Bella asked. Just how perfect today has been, I answered. Yeah, it has been. She leaned into my side and I draped my arm around her shoulder. Do you feel different? Bella questioned. I don't know, what do you mean? I asked for clarification. It just seems that sex is different for guys, and I wondered if you felt different. I took a minute to think about her question. Yeah, I do. I feel connected to you in a way that I didn't know was possible before. Like our souls joined together and not just our bodies. That probably sounds stupid. No, I feel it too. I knew it wasn't going to be just sex, but at the same time I didn't expect it to make such a difference. Yeah, I agree. I acknowledged. Do you think that other people will be able to tell? Probably. I shrugged. Does that bother you? No. I kind of hope that they can. Bella smiled shyly. I sort of thought that I would be embarrassed for others to know, but I'm not. Oh, Bells. I'm really glad because believe me, they are going to know. When do you patrol next? Bella asked. Friday evening. We settled into a comfortable silence before we walked back to the house. Worked on some homework before crawling back in bed together that night. We didn't have sex again, but did sleep completely naked, just enjoying our bodies being pressed together. Thursday was completely back to normal, and driving with Edward and Alice was not a big deal. If they didn't know something changed, then us making out in the back was probably a good clue. I'm sure that Edward was ready to run far from my lust-filled thoughts, but I didn't care. Later that night, Bella and I made love again, and everything was beyond perfect. I was walking with Embry and Quill after school on Friday.
Come on, Jake, phase already, Cole begged. It was driving him crazy that he didn't really know everything.
No, you know we have patrols tonight. You can know it then. I reasoned. Was it as awesome as you imagined? Embry asked. Even better. I sighed. You are so whipped, Quill scoffed. Oh, you just wait until it is your turn. I challenged. He laughed and we suddenly heard Sam's howl. Maybe we will know sooner than you thought, Jake. Embry laughed as we quickly headed towards the trees. Don't get your hopes up, I'll just think of something else. I taunted. Yeah, right. Quill laughed, like that could be possible. We quickly stripped our clothes, tying our shorts to our leg, threw our shirt and shoes in our backpack, and then left our bag under a tree and phased. Immediately we could feel the anxiety, fear and concern of each wolf as we saw my car upside down, smashed into a tree and Leah eye to eye with Victoria.